guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is V. For today's video, as you can tell by the title, you guys are going to be planning my final essay for my philosophy of education class with me. We're not going to ramble and jumble because I feel like I just go on and on in my introductions, and I hate watching videos that have long introductions, so we're going to get straight into it. Okay, so I have like 7 or 8 questions to choose from, and I haven't yet looked at them. We've kind of just been learning throughout the semester, and I just, in the back of my mind, have an idea that I'm gonna have to eventually choose a topic. They're obviously all gonna be based on different philosophers that we've studied and their methods and attitudes towards education, my opinion, that kind of jazz. Before we go any further, I want to say a massive thank you to today's sponsor, which is Kativhu. It's a networking app where you can find like-minded friends, potential business partners, and even influencers to collaborate with. Because you know what they say, ambitious people need ambitious like-minded partners in crime. So I'm going to quickly show you guys just how easy it is, and I just know that a lot of you have felt like what I feel, when you just feel a little bit lonely and like, man, I wish I had other like-minded people around me to just kind of support me and lift me up. And especially if you're a young, ambitious female in your industry and an entrepreneur or something, you need that strong, supportive female community around you. Otherwise you might feel a little bit deflated, you know. So think of the Kativhu app as kind of like a Tinder, if you may, but a Tinder for people looking for support and other friends to collaborate with. It's only available on the App Store for now. Use the link in my description box to download it now, and it's super easy. So enjoy and get connected. Go. Now let's get back to the video. One of the first steps, obviously, to writing an essay is making sure you choose the question that's right for you and you understand the question. So my first step right now is I'm going to go through these 9 questions. There's actually 9 questions, and choose the one that makes the most sense, works best for me. And you got to just read it properly, because what you don't want is to be halfway or even a 10th of the way or whatever through your essay, and then you realize I actually can't answer this. And that skill goes for even if you're doing exams or whatever. Just always try your best to choose wisely. So that's what I'm going to do now. The first question here that I'm seeing is, would Emil's education enable him to adopt the perspectives of people who are very different from himself, e.g. women, members of social classes, members of other races, members of other cultures? Does his education enable him to recognize the validity of their perspectives and empathize with the people who hold these perspectives? What do your considerations say about the adequacy of the education of Emil Rousseau's advocates? That's a good question, but I'm not sure I'd be 100% confident in it. Next question is, why does Rousseau believe that Emil should be taught alone? Why does Wollstonecraft believe that children should be taught in schools? Who has a better argument, and why? Don't like that one. What is the central issue in the debate between Washington and Du Bois? Why is it important? What consequences follow from deciding either way? Who, if either, is right? Now that question I could deal with essay prep. That was question 4. Okay, so I'm just going to do that until I get to question 9, and I'm not going to talk you through it all, and then I'll tell you which one I decide on. So see you in a minute. So I have chosen an essay question, and I'm pretty happy. So what I did was I went through, out of the 9 questions that were given to me, I went through and chose my best 1, 2, 3, 4 that I could answer and feel confident in writing a 2,500 word assignment on. That's gonna help count towards my final grade. So yeah, I chose the 4, and out of the 4, the one that kind of stands out to me that I immediately think, okay, that's where my strongest answer will be. The one that I want is number 8. So question number 8 is, why does Dewey contend that moral education is continuous with education in its entirety? Is he right, and why? I feel like there's a lot for me to work with there. I can bring in so many different versions of his argument and argue against myself, argue against him, and kind of think of the other side as well as the center of the question. So now that I've chosen out of the 4, I'm going to turn over and once again just quickly, and by the way, because I know y'all are going to ask me what this highlighting system is, what I essentially do is just kind of write out the question, then go in the different colors that I associate each philosopher with and write down which philosopher it's focusing on, so that when I'm looking at the question I can immediately see, okay, this is all about Dewey, it's all about Washington, and I know who my best philosophers are. Is it Aristotle? Is it Plato? Is it whose arguments am I most familiar with? And then once I recognize the theme and I clearly like Washington and Dewey's work, not that I agree with them, but I like their work, and out of the 2 I'll then go through and think, what's the question asking me to do? Because sometimes you're not as strong in describing or analyzing or comparing or whatever the question is asking, and I can clearly now see, okay, this question is asking a lot of why, this one is asking a lot of what's, so what's this and what does that mean, define it, and da 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 da. This one's asking, why do they think that way, what's the outcome of it, blah blah blah. Or the Dewey questions are more how. So like, how did Dewey's arguments actually fit into the world that we're living in? How does it work in his context? How does he come up with this, and how does it work, and how? And even the one that I've ended up choosing is more of a why question, which I prefer. I prefer the whys, because then I get to really, I don't know, I feel like I get to dig into the argument more, because rather than explaining how someone does something, which is just this happens and that happens and that happens, for me the why is the core of everything. And now we're going to get into the fun work, which is planning out the actual essay. Write like little spider diagrams of the kinds of things that I would want to explore and make sure I cover in the essay, and just make sure that there is no ground that hasn't kind of been touched upon. So where it says, why does Dewey contend that moral education is continuous with education in its entirety? So before I'd even begin thinking about answering that question, what I need to focus on is, does Dewey even contend that moral education is continuous with education in its entirety? So I need to explore, does he even contend? So that's going to be my first question, and then the bounce off from that, which I'll do in purple, if so, how, and give evidence. My writing changes all the time, so please don't even try and figure it out, because it's awful. So does he even contend? So then I've got to go through the text and find evidence of when and where he does it, and then here I'll put give opinion on the evidence. So that's my first step. I'm literally doing this live. Is he right, and why? The second paragraph, I'd say list one specific way that he contends it, and argue against it or in favor of it. And then what we'll do is that purple? No, it's not. V, no, it's not. Then I would bring in other evidence plus other philosophical arguments that go against it, and then give my views. In this first one, something else that I would do is I would explore what we mean by moral education, because various philosophers would have different definitions. Give definition that I will use in the essay. Maybe that can go in the intro, to be honest, because it's always good to define terms when you begin. that's just obvious in what you do in the conclusion, but I'll work that out a different time. I'm kind of feeling the pressure right now. So this will be my rough plan that I'm gonna work with for like a typical essay plan. It's pretty empty a little bit, but I also was feeling the pressure from doing it live on camera with you guys. This is the first time that I've had a chance to think about it, and I'm not gonna do this until tomorrow. So I normally like to sleep on my essay plan, unless it's obviously an essay crisis, which you guys have seen. I would write the plan as I'm about to write it, but this is a pretty big paper in terms of grade weighting, so I'm gonna take my time with it. Yeah, so then what I would do is tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and then kind of add to this in terms of add page numbers for where I'm going to cite this stuff, because I always believe in citing. I've got notes on my computer from that I was making in class, so I'll write down what page with the evidence and stuff, and then other scholars that I'm going to involve, or if I'm going to use any ideas from my classmates, I always note down who said what, so I'll put that down just to flesh it out a little bit more, make sure the plan is absolutely concrete, so when I come to write, each paragraph is working, each paragraph is doing what it's supposed to do, and I'm not repeating myself or getting lost in the argument. So essentially your mind map should just be a little trail that leads you nicely and has your essay just flowing a bit. That is pretty much it. I really hope that was helpful. Love you guys so much. I'm gonna go to class now. It is kind of midnight, half midnight, and I have a class in about 3 minutes, so I'm gonna put the philosophy work aside and step into my writing workshop. And yeah, it's the final week of university. It's over now, which is crazy, the first term. I've really enjoyed it, especially this philosophy of education class. It's been great, and I can't wait to write this paper. Maybe I'll do a second video showing you what happens next, and then maybe I'll read it to you as well, so you guys can see it from start to finish with me. Yeah, that's it. Those are pretty basic essay planning skills, so don't put in the comments, I can't believe she's at Harvard and she just uses this basic. It works, gets me the grades, and it works, and I just want to share. Love you so much. I'll see you soon, and if you've gotten this far and you haven't pressed subscribe, something wrong with you, because you should be part of the family, you know, like we're growing and glowing, and every time that I have a class I start to think I'm American, and I can't even do an American accent, and it's just so stressful. So I'm gonna go because I'm like totally this whole staying up at midnight thing is driving me a little bit crazy. Goodbye, I love you, kumbaya, see you soon, bye.